Does the Prime Minister understand there is a growing feeling of anger in this country that we are living through two-tier policing and a two-tier justice system?
Nigel Farage humiliated Starmer in front of millions of citizens. Paradoxically, the Prime Minister's rating is much lower than his. Would I doubt that anyone can ever have a rating lower than Starmer's? Justice was served, he really deserved it. I think he doesn't have long to hold his position, and soon he will pack up his things and leave. I've selected the most interesting new scenes for you, and we're starting to watch.
There's some extraordinary celebratory scenes outside Britain's prisons where in some cases serious career criminals were released. And this to make way for, yes, rioters, but equally those who've said unpleasant things on Facebook and elsewhere on social media. Does the Prime Minister understand there is a growing feeling of anger in this country that we are living through two-tier policing and a two-tier justice system?
Actions are being held in many cities of the country against the influx of immigrants, especially illegal Muslims. Interestingly, the start of these demonstrations coincided with the election of Starmer. It threatened the anti-immigrant demonstrators with new police forces. More than 400 Britons have already been arrested at these protests. By the way, did you know that for at least 3 years now, the London police have been accepting people with criminal records for bodily injury, hooliganism and assault? While all of them are still serving in law enforcement. There are 78 known police officers with serious criminal records. It turns out that most often the police are on the side of migrants who commit crimes. That is, the police protect roughly the same as them.
I'm angry to be put in a position of having to release people who should be in prison because the last government broke the prison system. And the Prime Minister was repeatedly warned. He had his own release scheme. He was repeatedly warned that he had to adopt the scheme that we've put in place. The former Justice Minister said if we don't do it, we'll have to get down on our knees and pray. The police chiefs made it absolutely clear in a letter to him before the election that he needed to take action, saying that they wouldn't be able to discharge their duties and saying the risk was loss of an ability to detain suspects. That means, Mr. Speaker, an inability to arrest people committing.
More than 1,700 prisoners began to be released early to free up places in heavily overcrowded prisons. The number of prisoners in prisons has reached record levels since 2011. At the moment, about 89,000 people are serving their sentences. Starmer personally released dangerous criminals. And while they are rejoicing, we are horrified to think what this could turn out to be. The freed shouted and waved their hands in delight, hugged their loved ones. One person even said that Keir Starmer's politics had made him a lifelong voter of the Labour Party. I think everyone understands perfectly well that about a third of those released may commit repeated crimes. Overcrowding in prisons does not help reduce the likelihood of reoffending after release.
In fact, at almost every level, we've been betrayed. And then I thought about what was happening on our streets. The rise of knife crime, the rise of gun crime, the fear of people even in the smartest parts of London to go out for a drink or dinner and for a man to wear a watch or a woman to wear jewellery. I thought about what mass uncontrolled immigration on a scale the likes of which we'd never seen had done to divide our communities.
It is a tragedy that crimes involving the use of bladed weapons are still common in our country. Attacks primarily affect young people. The probability that a teenager will be fatally wounded is now twice as high as 10 years ago. According to official statistics, the number of crimes has increased by 4% over the past year. Starmer said that it was very morally hard for him to hear all these tragic stories. He doesn't really care. He continues to pursue a destructive migration policy and release criminals from prisons.
An NHS in which you can't get a GP appointment, roads that are clogged beyond comprehension, and frankly, I thought to myself, Britain is broken. And then I couldn't help it. Well, if Britain is broken, then logically, Britain needs reform.
And most people cannot make an appointment with a therapist and therefore self-medicated or sought help from people who actually do not have the necessary medical qualifications. The government is constantly breaking its promises to hire more therapists. In some parts of the country, personal appointments with general practitioners have almost disappeared. Now we have a terrible situation where people are forced to treat themselves or even prescribe medications on their own because they cannot go to a local therapist.
Years. Labour have not won through love. So the opportunity is there, and that is why we must take the English County Council elections next year, plus areas like Doncaster and areas like Thurrock, where the district councils are up. Our first big test of fire comes on the first Thursday in May next year.
People were eager to show their attitude towards the Conservatives. Although the Labour Party achieved victory, their merit in this is secondary. Starmer seemed like a typical boring politician who turned out to be much worse. And of course, voters were more attracted to the party itself and its principles.
The point about them, it doesn't matter who leads them, the brand is bust. The brand is broken. People will not go back to them. They've let us down so badly. And as for Labour, I mean, goodness me. Have you ever known a new Prime Minister get off to a worse start than Keir Starmer? It's truly shocking. I mean, the message of things can only get worse is hardly inspiring, is it?
The survey showed that the majority of Britons disapprove of Starmer's work. He is doing a very poor job as Prime Minister. It showed that 1 in 7 who voted for Labour regretted their decision. Now I think that almost every second person regrets this. In addition to the scandal with gifts, he could not cope with the riots, could not stop the flow of illegal migrants. Under his leadership, more than 10,000 people have already crossed the strait. And for his decision to reduce winter fuel subsidies for pensioners, despite the high cost of energy, apparently we still have to prepare for another tax increase.
And now we're living in a state, and you all know it, but they'll deny it in Westminster until the cows come home. We're living in a state with two-tier policing. We're living in a state with two-tier justice. We're living in a state that is led by two-tier keir, and we've had enough already.
Why is the government lowering people's standard of living by sending billions to aid abroad? Why are we spending so much money? Why do we spend millions on hotels every week? Why are we sending money to China? Why are we sending money to India? We have so many problems, but the government still wants to take care of people from other countries.
1 in 4 of those that voted Labour in the general election on July the 4th, 1 in 4 already say they are considering, they are inclined to vote for Reform UK. Already. We do not need to change the mind of a single person living in this country.
Nigel Farage's approval rating is 34%. In fact, this is not just a figure, it is an indicator of the hope and trust that he inspires in us. While Starmer suffers from historically low ratings, Farage continues to inspire and motivate people. Farage is known for his bluntness and willingness to tell the truth, even if it is not popular. By contrast, Starmer is the main hypocrite in this country. Farage shows determination and leadership. He is very charismatic, and Starmer seems to be 90 years old. I have never seen such boring people. Each of his speeches is not only a complete lie, but it is also absolutely unconvincing. He is disconnected from reality and does not understand the needs of ordinary people. But do you know why? Again, because he doesn't care about people's needs. The most important thing for him is to profit from people's suffering and have a large number of influential friends who will give him expensive gifts. I am very ashamed that he is our Prime Minister. It is a shame. He is a disgrace to our country. What do you think about him and his actions? Share your opinion in the comments. See you.